Alright, I think I'm live. If anybody's on, let me know. It's the first time I'm trying on Tune to Perfection here to go live instead of doing a YouTube video. I'm going to be here for a few hours, so if y'all want to go and come and go. More the merrier. And yeah, so let's see all these new features that are on the screen over here. So I've got my computer to the left over here, and I've got my screen from the picture earlier so I can see what the camera's doing. Let me know if I need to zoom out or zoom in. Yeah, so, and let me know if you can hear me well. Waiting for a better mic to come in. I'm using the laptops right now. But yeah. Cool. So yeah, if you can hear me, let me know. I'm going to start here in a minute, getting things prepped and ready to go. And as the title suggests, this is a mint condition Ripper 3. So I purchased all these parts over the years, trying to get it to be a perfect build, but right now took forever to get parts, and finally got enough in and whatnot. So you'll be seeing me use my little tips and tricks as I talk through it. But I'd rather hang out and talk to people, because sitting here trying to film these videos sometimes gets really boring. And I may not be saying the right things. So a lot of these parts came from the Intimidators group. The body and a couple other parts came from Dirty Works. They have a lot of the old Bob Long Intimidator parts. Some of it came from personal stashes that I have or friends. The valve here is a lurker valve, and it actually is drilled so that you can actually stop vapor lock. So in these old, or I guess the Gen 4s, and I got rid of it. All right, got Jared and Robert. Hey guys. How's it going, Jared, up there in the cold north, huh? It's cold here in Texas. Robert, you're just a few miles away, so. Well, like I said, the this lurker valve is cool about it, and there's a little port, so it looks just like a normal valve, but there is a hole drilled through that goes to the back end. On these little rocket systems that they had for the ram sleeve, it would get caught, and there'd be a pressure that would kind of cause a hydraulic lock. So you would have a pressure set to here, and the atmospheric pressure would be here, and it would actually either A, create a vacuum, or B, force it shut. So yeah, so what they did was they just balanced the valve, and they do that a lot on the new on some of the RT valves and stuff for Vikings and whatnot. So good, volume good, excellent. Yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna be purchasing a kind of a boom mic for another project, and all this equipment here, I've got longer cables coming right now. I'm having to run the cable under the desk here, but yeah. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get all this old packing glue and dust and stuff out of these little crevices before I start. Also, if anybody bought any of this, buy this right here, isopropyl alcohol. You want the 99.9% pure, and it works for electronics, but it also cleans paintball gear well, and it gets rid of, you can clean like paint off your micro switches or your boards or whatnot. So I like to use these soft toothbrushes. All right, I think that's as clean as I'm gonna get it. So like I said, as you can see, I have all the parts here. Always go with Inception's ASAs. This LPR is actually pretty cool. This is their um, second generation LPR. The first one, I should have brought it in here, but it's too far in the back of the house right now. But uses a double piston, piston that uses double O-rings and a lot of drag, and they were aluminum instead of these little plastic or Delrin pieces, and a lot of the large had a larger screw and everything. So that is the Gen 2 LPR, and it has a little bit different parts to it. You'll notice a Gen 1 has a square, I think it's called a 114 O-ring size, and it's square. And yeah, it's really annoying to try to get on and off. And it also causes a lot of drag trying to get it out of there. So I think I had one here. I had one out just in case. I was going to use a Gen 1 reg, but I thought this one looked pretty cool with the ripper. So yeah, so right here, I'll try to see if I can get it up close to the camera and focus. No, it just looks like a invisible halo. You can see it's square, or kind of like a flat disc. So, but yeah. Then another couple cool things I like to do is so most of the Intimidators use Humphrey solenoids, and Bob Long would he had like a really cool rig that he could set solenoids up on and test them and see what their cyclic rate was, and the faster ones would go into the tournament guns for the team players, and then the slower ones would go out to the market. So, and he also put brass hose barbs. So these hose barbs are actually larger than the normal ones. I don't know. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, look at that. So you can see how large that is. So the normal one's not that, it's a lot thicker than that. So these are actually the faster, or I guess more high flow hose barbs, as you would say. But as you notice, this isn't a normal solenoid. This is a Carnivore's F1 solenoid. So the F1 solenoids actually are faster than the updated Humphreys, and they're milled for these ports. So if you look at a Humphrey, you have to, when they vent, they have to come out the little tubes, and it's restricted. These are direct path out, which means you're going to get a little bit more oil in the grip area, but you'll actually get a faster rate of cycle. We all know how fast those WGP Carnivores went. So as you can see, that's why this long string, and it usually has a shroud over it. I've cut the shroud away so I can roll this kind of between the hoses as I put the hoses on, and that way I've got a short cable. You don't want to cut the cable, but yeah. So I've got new eyes, got electronics over here. Got a very rare board for the build, a Tadao, and if anybody knows Tadao, this one's a Tadao Yakuza Series USB OLED board. So it has a USB. It's not an LED. It is an OLED board, and it works. So the OLED has not burnt out, and I plan on trying to keep it that way. If not, I'll go sci-fi down the way. But this is a very rare kit. And what's neat about it is instead of having the membrane, it comes with this little plastic plate and two buttons. So instead of being membrane, it's actually a button pressed kit. Yeah, so I mean, even this plating still has its protective coating on it, so it has a green tint to it in person. I just put the jewels on earlier to kind of save some time. I love you too, John. I love you too. Yeah, so let me start by what else? Yeah, oh yeah, another cool feature. I always go with sidewinders. If you need to pick some up, contact Jared. He has these, and they are awesome. If anybody knows AKA, I'm a huge fan of AKA. Sidewinders are one of the best recharge regs out there. They were developed for the Vikings and the Excaliburs to hold high rates of fire. Now, I mean, of course, back in the day, high rates of fire is probably not what we do. But currently, these days, they have, these are just the most consistent regs. Easy to repair, easy to replace. This one has the tall neck on it, so they have three different sizes necks. Oh, so this is the medium. There's the large, so the medium would sit right here, and then there's a real thin one for the small. I like the large ones because happy day, if you put them together here and you slide it together and you put the frame on, the hose is almost near perfectly straight all the time. So, and of course I'm a big Angel fan, so I had to pull out a rare part. So this is a side gauge. What's cool about it, it's in bars, so I mean you just have to convert. You know, the 5 bar is going to be kind of where I'm going to set it at. But what's neat is I can see it from the back when I'm from the side of the gun, and it can give me the red little light where I'm going to be shooting at. So if I see any issues or if it starts creeping past 6 bar to 10 bar, I know something's going wrong with this LPR. So I've also upgraded to new stainless steel hose barbs for the gun. So everything inside the gun other than the brass barbs are going to be stainless steel. So all stainless steel screws. I've even rubber washered the frame screws. Same with the manifold that goes on the ram sleeve is stainless steel and larger porting. And they usually have just black oxidized screws. Those went to stainless. Went with my larger hosing. Also, it's more of a flexible hose, so I can really spin it around. And I'm going to try to cut these springs. These are autococker trigger springs from Inception. I'm going to try to see if I can get those to work for the trigger. I usually don't like to push against the micro switch and use it to spring it back. Oh, I miss you too, Chad. Jeff, I'm not lonely, but hey, it's fun to have y'all here. Nick, how you doing, buddy? And yeah, I'm gonna try to keep up with these comments as they come in, but I also get lost in talking to myself about these guys. But it's nice to actually be talking to some people instead of just filming. Um, also, crack open some beers. I'm trying to lose some weight, so I'm drinking some low-cal beer, but can't say no to beer. Where was I? Oh yeah, so rams, usually the lurker rams, you can put a brass piston in, but I weighed them and they're all about the same, so I just kept the stock ram. Yeah, so I'm gonna start putting this together. Let's see here. I'm gonna use my silicone grease or silicone oil. Outlast. If you haven't ever bought some, buy some. It's perfect paintball lube. It's synthetic. It works with everything, and if you use grease, it kind of blends into the grease there. So I like to use it. Now on these ram sleeves, the Gen 4s were interesting. They had their own kind of ram sleeve, and it has a cupped U-seal here, so it has to face back, so you can slide it out, but it won't slide back. So it actually helps close the gap, so if any pressure comes, it pushes closed, but you can slide it forward. So I think it's pretty neat design. I might have to take that off if I remember correctly to get it in there. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to take it off. Where is the tool for that? Really small. Like I said, I got all these parts and I've only prepped a little bit to get these things ready. Changed all the O-rings out, put new O-rings on so I didn't have to hunt for O-rings while we're talking. And I did the general cleanup of dust off of them because a lot of it came out of just storage. So, right. I bet I'm gonna have to put the grease. So what I normally do once I get this off, that's faded, but here's a good one. So get yourself some 545. This is a thread sealant, so it's not a thread locker like blue or red Loctite. It's actually kind of a purple. And what's neat about 545 is it's 4 hydraulic systems. And as you use it and say it gets into the system, it actually will break down into a powder and it won't gum up your solenoid or whatnot. Crack a cold one. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, yeah. I think that's fighting words, Chad. You're gonna get Robert mad at you. Let's see that. Clean that off. Let me get this fresh. Always like to clean the surfaces of everything. So this one looks like it has a little bit of paste still on it. So probably some of this thread sealant from back in the day. Yeah. All right. Look at that. It was perfect. Now it's gonna suck us trying to get that in there. That's okay. They had to design it in a difficult way. Steal my thunder. You can't steal my thunder. Robert's more popular than I am. I just know paintball guns. Robert knows everything else. Delicate surgery here. Had to make it difficult, huh? Mm. Okay. If I can get it to sit correctly. I can get it to get in there for a second. I'll just grab it. So yeah, this is my first live viewing. I'm gonna try to do more of these on kind of neat guns, but we'll get to that point when it gets there. Don't really have anything much coming right now for projects other than working on people's paintball markers, but yeah, I might do a few more of these. This one I thought was really cool because it's kind of significant. Wish I had a. No. Usually I take the hose barbs off that way, but this is gonna be a little difficult. Let's wipe my hands real quick. This one's a tough one. Oops, hit the system here. Even knows it is in a slow rotation. This one, let's see. Oh, scratching again. No. All right. Let's get tough with it. That way I don't have to hold on to the bottom. Another great little invention from AKA is the AKA gun stand. I don't know if Jared still has some of these, but if you can, grab one. They make working on paintball guns upside down pretty easy. Let's see if we can't keep this balanced. Put the screw in there. All right. Got 3 washers. That's more than I thought I was going to get. That's cool. Thanks for showing up, guys. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm gonna get a better mic. I'm gonna try to get this other stuff going. Going to do some other projects in the Pipeworks, doing live. So always have some blue masking tape around, especially if you don't want to damage anything. What I need to do is take one of my sockets and modify it to fit even here. Now, what you don't want to do is turn this too tight. When you think it's kind of snug, just kind of snug it a little bit more, and that's it. Do not over tighten these because they are not the strongest items, especially these larger board ones. And they will pop off and break. And a couple of my friends have already realized something about that. I'll have to fix here in a few days. But yeah, it just put it in there lightly, and that's it. You know, and then what you want to do is just double check and snag, make sure it's snug. Yep, you don't want it to break, because then you're done for the night, and we'll have to end this live view. So, with that done, look at it, see here. So yeah, so next I'm going to make sure that this is in its rightful place. I just wanted to hold it. It seems like it's set just right. Let's make sure it's dead center. Right there. Edge on edge, it looks like. Right there. Feels like it's shouldered there, so let's see. I believe that is shouldered. Okay. Clean up the mess as we go here. Grab the towel that dropped on the ground. All right, so what can I say about this marker? So what's cool about the Gen 4s is they're very tiny. I think it was during the age of when paintball markers were trying to go as small as possible, and you know, you've got as compact as possible. And Robert probably can attest to more of that happening, because at that time I was going to college, and I was kind of out of the scene for a little while. And yeah, so can only attest to I was not around for that. But we definitely know a thing or two about things, you know, like they were trying to make paintball guns faster and then limit it, then not limit it, then limit it again, and then they did a whole bunch of different crazy things and just got out of hand, and then trying to make the guns smaller. Now they're making them large again, and I think everybody's found a happy medium with paintball markers these days. So I can't say that they're going in directions that we want, but I think they're getting there, and I think guns are getting better and better and better over time. this one. One, two. Feels like everything went together correctly. What I'll do is I'll test it. Always like, so if you want another tip, go to Academy and go to the gun cleaning aisle, and in the tools there's these long cotton swabs. They have them for every different caliber. I bought 22. I bought breech cleaning ones, 45 caliber ones, and the 45 caliber ones are really good. I have one right here. So it's a little bit thicker and works with getting in some of these larger areas in the paintball markers. These 22 caliber breech ones work great. Double check, make sure that's tight. Don't want to over tighten. Okay. Then we will, and you'll get to actually see me gas this up and see if we actually did a good job. So another trick on these is to, well, not have the red on there. Thanks, Robo. Yeah, I hope it all turns out correctly. Well, I think I've got enough tips and tricks here to get this to work. I think it was this one or it was the next side up. The next size up. There we go. Rotate the ASA. Let me get out of the way of the camera. Rotate the ASA so the hose barb's out of the way. And then, let me see if I can zoom in. I don't have to move the whole camera. Yeah, so let me scooch this way so it's in frame. Yeah, so you can see the hose barb there. Put that in. Notice how the set screw is now out of the way of the hose barb. And then what you do is you can bring this back into alignment and then just slowly work it in. You'll see the ASA jump to its position, and then you just crank down it. Not too hard, but just enough torque. You don't want to put the, you don't want to be back here. You just keep your hand up here and just kind of slowly. You don't want to strip those threads, and it doesn't have to be crazy tight, but you do want a little bit of pressure on that so it doesn't walk around while you're playing. And usually they're supposed to be perfectly flush. Or this one is, and this one doesn't have to be. So I just like to work the Allen up front here and just kind of keep applying a little pressure to it. That way this doesn't move and we're set. All right, so let's get the little manifold on. Oops. Do that. And then we'll tighten it up. Okay. Manifold. So this is actually an interesting one. It uses an 006 O-ring. Slide the comments down. That screen back in. So it uses an 006 O-ring, and I think what you do is it just sits right there and you put this on it, and then it seals up against it once you screw these little screws in. So we'll try that. So these two long ones. Okay, so sorry I'm talking to myself. All right. I'm new to this. Bear with me. Well, I mean, you are the first one, I think, to say dib, so. So I always start with a star pattern. So start on one of the corners and then do the opposite corner. Same thing like when you're doing a tire on a truck or a car. Star pattern it and just work it down. Work it down. Never, don't do this and then do the whole thing. I always just do the top, and just rotate. That applies enough torque. So, and then do the back. And then I could gas this whole thing up and it'll leak everywhere, and then I'll look like a fool. I think I'm gonna have a leak down the barrel then from the valve until I cycle it a few times. We'll get to that point when it comes. All right, so we have hose barb, hose barb, hose barb. Happy day. So I had this plug out just in case if I wanted to replace this Angel one, if it blows it or if it's broken, I don't know. It's been in my bag for years and years and years, so I just got it out just in case. Always good to have one in case something bad happens, right? Plan for the worst, hope for the best, right, guys? Okay. What do I want to do next? All right, let's do this. Let's go ahead and test the LPR, so you get to see one of my tricks. So we'll build the LPR next. Alright, I'm gonna put a little 33 grease. I always use these syringes, and I put the 33 and I put the 55, and I scratched 55, it says it's 55, and I put 33. It's a Dow 33, I think it's Maltec. I have to find it. It's in one of these drawers, and I just fill it up. It's a big tube. But yeah, use Dow grease. Doesn't have any petroleum-based oils in it. If I can even help anybody, one tidbit today: do not use petroleum-based products in a paintball marker. It eats the O-rings. It eats anything that's plastic. It turns things yellow. When you open up your old paintball guns, you see these O-rings. These are polyurethane O-rings that are great for being slick and whatnot. But you've run grease through it. Not grease. Anything with petroleum in it, dries them out, eats them up, and then they break. They'll stay sealed until they move, and then they shatter. So these Buna O-rings and whatnot are a little bit more chemical resistant, but they still will break down into black goo. So you don't want to use that. So what I do is I know you're supposed to use 55 on these guys, but since I'm going to be using my silicone oil, I'm just going to put a light dabbing to fill this little channel up. There's a little recessed channel in this piston, and I like to make sure that it's has enough grease in it. And just gently slide it down on top of the Schrader valve. Oh yeah, also another thing, these use the newer style Schrader valve that a lot of people with G6Rs kind of need to test every so often. They're just like the tire hose. Sorry, the tube for your tire. When you fill it up, it's just a little valve that keeps the back pressure in. When you fill up your tires with air, so they do the same thing here, but in a much smaller scale. Allows us to dial things in. Wipe my hands. So you'll actually get to see my little invention, and I think a couple people started throwing them, copying it, but not in the way I did it. But they always question why I did it this way, but I'll show you. So since I wanted to use some oil, and I find it easier on some of these Intimidators to just use oil to deal with just dropping a few drops of oil into them, drop some oil on the ram. The Dow 55 works great, but I like the silicone oil. And I think Bob Long on his page used to say use I think some like Gold Cup or something like that. Whatever, it's whatever he wants. I like the Outlast. And it's American made. It's made. I think it's in Louisiana. I think is where it's made or somewhere like that. Or in the south here. So, all right. Okay, so now we have the air system set up and isolated. So what I'm going to do now is use my LPR dyno. So I developed this golly, a few years ago. I went to Numidyne and bought all this, and it was not cheap. So what it does is it allows me to test two different sizes of hoses that we run across in the paintball industry. So this is the smaller one, this is the larger hose. And these are one-way check valves for micro air systems. So this is the stuff you would actually see on robots and whatnot. And you would get, it allows me to pump in, but it doesn't come back, so I can build the back pressure. And then when I want to vent it, I have a solenoid here that I can press. And then this is a little muffler so it doesn't, screech or spew anything out. It actually filters it and silences it. So I'm able to test two different types of hoses or two different markers. Or, at one time I can pop this one out or disable this one, put it in there, whatnot. But I've rarely had to use this one. It was just kind of a backup as if I ever need it. So it will slide onto there. We'll bring this around to the front so that we can see it in the camera. I think, maybe. I have to think about how to show the audience now. Hey, 7 people. All right. I thought I was only getting maybe 2 or so. Okay. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. I already preset the reg to 200 psi because I didn't want to deal with that while we're on the TV. But I'll also show you how I did that. I figured that'd be good too. A little tester. Get that out here. Squirrel! So I use this system. So it has a dye reg tester here, which is great because I get some people. I have a lot of dye product, and a lot of people send in their Hyper 3 markers, and you've got to be able to screw in a Hyper 3 to test it. So that's that plastic puck in there before you take it apart. The reg seat, I should say, if I'm going to talk nomenclature. But I've also noticed that dye's threading was a little too perfect. So what happens is you can't. Some regs won't screw into the regular threading for ASAs. So this is actually a old AKA reg tester, and used to have a gauge here. You would plug this in, screw it into the gun. You'd have the gauge here, and then you'd screw the sidewinder into it, so you could actually have it all in line on the marker. Those threads are a little bit more loose, and I'm able to put more different, or almost every reg I've ever screwed into it works just fine. It also gives me a little bit more volume, but what it does is it gives me to a decimal place the pressure of the reg. I can take it off here in a minute and show you, and it gives it to me to a decimal place, and I can see if it's creeping at a decimal's rate, and if it's not staying stable. Now regs do sit there and fluctuate, but what you don't want it to do is fluctuate and then reach to the next tier, and then reach to the next tier, and then reach to the next. Eventually, it'll just parabolic and just take off, and it can actually damage this reg. I've had it actually push up to 700. It's only made to go to 500, but luckily you can zero it out and whatnot. So I've probably had to zero several times, but eventually I'll have to replace this. But so far it's been a pretty tough built system, and I'm able to dyno the big rig. Dyno to at least as a hobby side, not as a like what Powerhouse does, where they actually have a really big testing system. Alright. So I'm pretty sure the reason for that is the LPI, the valve is going to need to be moved, so we'll see if we can get it to seal. Brand new everything, right? Let's just see what happens. Actually, I was actually happy to see that there's going to be some issues because I wanted to be able to know if I can move things or show on how I troubleshoot. But, if it goes too late, I might have to call it quits and see what it is and do another video. Let's see here. Now, one thing I didn't think of was the fact the camera's in the way of my main tool. Just another fun one you can get from Amazon is these Japanese pliers. As you can tell, they actually have plastic, and that's how I can grab a lot of these anodized parts and test them, or grab them without damaging them. So let's see. Oh, there was it was like glued in there. Weird. And like some blue Loctite. That's odd. Alright. So it actually allows me to put a Allen in there and I can tighten it. Nice. Okay. So with that piston all the way out, I'm able to gas it up and it should hopefully. Let's see. Okay, so what I need to do now is that's what I figured is going to happen. So that rocket valve is stuck backwards. It didn't slide forwards, and the spring that I put in there, I don't think it has enough force. I was hoping that I could use a lighter spring and not have to worry about, or able to use a little bit lower pressure. And that's what it's sold with, a lighter spring, but I'm pretty sure I'll have to adjust it. Oh yeah. Whew. Alright, so let's do it a different way. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to work that in. So let's start it with it shut. Let's put the spring back in. It's like Legos, you lose all the parts you set aside. So here, let me show you what I'm dealing with here. So earlier today, I went and hunted an O-ring. Of course, now I can't find it. But told myself I was going to leave them out so that I could test it, but who knows? Probably because I'm on the video right now, and it's like I really can't find it. Bear with me. Figure this is best to be shown and not shown. There we are. Okay. So I have a little bag of springs that I kind of keep for random stuff over the years, and this is the spring that I had earlier. So this is an actual valve spring. Let's see if I can get into the part. Yeah, so you can see that one. And this is the one I'm putting in that came with it. So it's the same size spring, a little bit less K factor than this one. So this one's a lot easier to open and close. So I might have to put that one in there. We'll just have to wait and see. I think it's the fact that it just needs to start in the balanced position and then work forward. If not, I'll have to put that stop spring in there and then maybe get these O-rings worked in and then move from there. But yeah. Well, at least we're having problems, so that way I can troubleshoot through and talk to y'all about it. So, alright, so let's put this back in there. What is with this one? Back to 3. Run most off. Now I'm at 4. Excellent. Climbing back. Audio still in good order, guys. Okay. That's back. Back. Get all this out of the way. Well, thanks for sticking with me for these 45 minutes so far, or 46 minutes. Okay. Okay. Wonder. So we got another leak. At least it's not up the front here. But the sad thing is I'm going to take all that off, which is okay. That's why we don't tighten it all down. Wouldn't be an Intimidator without leaks, huh? What do y'all think of the new logo? I'm going to have some t-shirts and a few other things made that to give out and whatnot, so you can wear it to other venues and whatnot. It's funny, this is not fitting. I wonder if it's because it's well, I tried to have it all set up and all the tools ready, but I guess no, that's too big. Well, this is supposed to be the 5 mil that takes these off, but it's not grabbing it, so it's smaller. Interesting, so it's a 4 mil. Let's see where that's at. Not tonight. Let me just take these back here. I bet that cup seal is dried out, or I put it on wrong. That could be the case. Ah, that's what I was afraid of. Uh-huh. Interesting. hose barb actually broke. So now we've got the situation where the hose barb is in there. So what we'll do, well, actually set really nice right there, is I guess I need to flip this over or put an actual O-ring on it. But it shouldn't have leaked like that. It's brand new. So let's go ahead and get the hose barb out. What I do in these situations is instead of using an easy out because it is an odd angle, I'll grab a Torx kit and then I'll try to see if I can get it down in there and put pressure and just kind of walk it slowly out. We're getting a little shavings, but we're not getting anything. Yeah. That thing's just right there. Had the right size. So if you're just joining me, my little hose bar broke and I was actually taking it off. That's just what happens with them. You know, what's funny is it's just a hair in there. Well, I might actually have to call it quits for tonight, guys, and work this little piece out, and then do another video tomorrow and come back. I guess that's probably going to be the safest thing to do. So anyway, guys, that's where we're going to stop tonight. I'm going to try to go get this on the drill press outside, get my little easy outs and back that out. And if it's quick and I get it out, then I'll come back and go back live again. If not, I'll send out another note on another day to get this together. And I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching.